Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is me, Mr. Morris, and I'm here to read the PowerPoints to you. So if there are any words you don't understand, I will read through it so that you do. Civil Rights and Civil Disobedience. Political Action for Change by Tanya Eastman. The essential question today is, what were the reasons that the practice of civil disobedience has been used? What were the reasons? Why was civil disobedience written? In 1849, as the United States government needed money for the Mexican-American War, Henry David Thoreau refused to pay a direct tax for the war, although he did pay his other taxes. This was the first protest against the government. He thought that the war was a bad thing, so he felt it was necessary to resist paying his direct tax to support the war against Mexico. That led him to being put into jail. Although people gave him advice to pay the tax, he still didn't pay it. He didn't fear the government and at the same time inspired other people to join his protest. The night in jail allowed him to start writing his essay, Civil Disobedience. In his notes, he talked about actively refusing to obey certain laws or demands of the state and government because the citizens have the freedom of choice between good and bad decisions made by our leaders. After 20 years, the notes were printed into a book by the same name and read by many people, including Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. So that is civil disobedience. Now, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to watch this movie, but you have to go back to the PowerPoint to watch the movie. And this is going to tell you more about Henry David Thoreau. And I want you to watch it because there's some information in this that you're going to need to know later. Okay. And her name is Emmeline, how did Emmeline Pankhurst use the act of civil disobedience? Emmeline Pankhurst, a late 1800s British suffragist, that means a person who wants to vote, said, "We are not, or excuse me, said, we are here not because we are lawbreakers, we are here in our efforts to become lawmakers." As the definition defines it, civil disobedience is the refusal to comply with certain laws as a peaceful form of political protest. For her own acts of civil disobedience, Pankhurst was arrested about 20 times throughout the 40 years she campaigned for women's right to vote in England. Pankhurst felt that as a society, we struggle with the nuances of breaking a law, even when it is a bad one. That very struggle is why we view those who improve society through civil disobedience as heroes. Those that choose to take on the powers that be in a peaceful manner of resistance are truly using their democratic right to show disdain for certain policy. Disdain means dislike. Emmeline was known for chaining herself and encouraging other women to the door or fence of a public place and refusing to leave, which was very effective in proper England. British women would gain the right to vote in 1928, just a few weeks after her death. And again, as I've mentioned, there is a video that you are going to watch on Emmeline Pankhurst, and I think you should watch it because there's information in it you're going to need to know. What did Rosa Parks do to encourage civil disobedience? On December 1st, 1955, Rosa Parks was taking the bus home from work in Montgomery, Alabama, when she refused to give up her seat. She was already sitting down and was in the row closest to the front for black people. When the bus began to fill up, the driver told the people in Rosa's row to move back in order to make room for a white passenger. Rosa was tired of being treated like a second class citizen. She refused to move and give up her seat for a white person. Rosa was then arrested and fined $10. Although other people had been arrested for similar infractions, means the same thing. It was Rosa's arrest that sparked a protest against segregation. Civil rights leaders and ministers got together to organize a day to boycott the buses. That meant that for one day, Black people would not ride the buses in Mobile. They picked December 5th. They handed out pamphlets so people would know what to do, and on December 5th, around 90% of Black people in the Montgomery area did not ride the buses. This hurt the bus company because most of their passengers were Black people. So that's what Rosa Parks did to encourage civil disobedience. As I mentioned, there is a video here on Rosa Parks that I want you to watch. We'll be talking about later. So please watch it. And finally, why did Cesar Chavez use civil disobedience? After 2 years in the Navy, Cesar Chavez married and returned to his hometown of San Jose. He became involved in farm worker rights and equal work practices for Hispanic workers in the farming industry. It was during this time that he also became involved in the philosophy of nonviolence by reading about Rosa Parks and Thoreau, the same two people we just talked about. Cesar started an organization called the Community Service Organization, or the CSO, that started a focus on voter registration for the workers. When Cesar was a small boy, until he left for the Navy, he worked in the farm fields all around San Jose with his entire family, and in many instances witnessed Hispanics like himself being beaten and abused by the white field owners. By 1962, Cesar became the founder of the National Farm Workers Association and would later be the UFW, United Farm Workers. In 1970, the UFW got the grape growers to accept a labor union contract, which allowed 50,000 paying members to become an organized group in this industry. His leadership, combined with nonviolent actions, prompted a 340-mile march in protest to get the state to allow farm workers to organize into a union, which would bring safe working conditions to all minorities in the farm industries. Cesar encouraged nonviolent methods of protest, including strikes, pickets, and boycotts, to achieve their goals. The reason he did this was to make sure the angry protesters saw the results of nonviolence in action, or as an action. So that's why Cesar Chavez used civil disobedience. And finally, as I said before, make sure you guys watch this film on Cesar Chavez. It's going to have information in it. Let me know. All right. Thanks, guys. And if you need anything, just ask, because I will be listening and waiting to help you. All right, you guys.